applause for Preston and Dani.
Oh. Sorry, technical difficulty, sorry. All right, so thank you for coming to our talk. So Preston and I were sitting there a couple of months ago, and I was getting phishing emails from... Okay, so... There we go. All right, so we were... I was getting phishing emails from like Wells Fargo, and I don't have a Wells Fargo account, and everyone knows the Nigerian prince emails. So we're thinking like with this whole AI boom now, you have ChatGPT, you have all those like language models, you have Blip that can give you like captions from photos, and our knowledge and expertise in like OSINT. We thought to ourselves, why don't we just start scraping everything, getting data, and then using all these great language models to create real phishing emails? So I'm Dani. I run cloud tech, software development, do cloud consulting, cloud security, a lot of offensive security. We got Nemo the fish, who is the one doing the phishing. That's the name of the framework that we built. So it's this, it will be open sourced. It's a modular framework. You can put a lot of modules for scraping different things, for generating different prompts, different vector stores. And I'll let Preston introduce himself.
Yeah. Hey guys, my name is Preston Thornburg. I'm the co-founder of Upshield. Basically just my background's in offensive security. And so the first time I used GPT, I like the GPT-3, I was like, holy shit, this is going to be 100% a game changer for phishing people. The days of like ridiculous emails are dead. And I'm so excited about that because now we can get back to work of like making things safe instead of tricking people and, you know, like, oh, look for like the pixelated image or something like that. And that's what makes you be able to identify a threat actor, right? So first things first. So we're going from Nigerian princes to college buddies. So I'm sure that everyone at this point, raise of hands, who here has received like a really pathetic phishing email? Okay, that's like everyone actually. And how many of you have received pathetic emails that actually made you irritated because there was no love put into that attack vector? Okay, so basically...
Also, how many of you received phishing emails with like a bunch of spelling mistakes?
Yeah, so pretty much everyone. So that's essentially what we're going to hop into for the rest of this discussion. So here's an example, right? Hi, sir. I am Prince from Nigeria. Your help very much appreciated. Please send this amount of money. That way I can send you like 1,000 pesos or something, right? This is kind of the standard, early 2000s. Even you still receive this kind of junk all the time. And it's a little frustrating, to be honest, because you see it and you're like, dude, they didn't even put 5 seconds of effort into that email. Same thing with like the FedEx packages of, hey, click here, like there's this package and magically go find it, right? Same thing with tax refunds, all sorts of stuff. And what's cool is that now using the power of AI and language models, et cetera, the ability to build some really targeted stuff is really, really easy, which is cool, right? So that's what...
And dangerous.
And also dangerous, yeah. So a quick overview of just the agenda. We're going to talk through the framework that we've built, how it works, what it does, what some of the technical complexities included are. And then we're also going to provide a few workflows of kind of demonstrating of if you had God mode or like the power of data lakes with all of this information, and it's all public information, well, most of it's public information, what could you do with that to build something that was really creative and really targeted?
So yeah, Nemo is the framework. Mm-hmm. We just want to show you, so Preston loves whispering to ChatGPT. He always calls it whispering. So I got us some shirts. if you guys want to see it.
Yeah, it's dead. Yeah. The fish whisperer. Right? Yeah. Okay, so I didn't want to like overload you guys with diagrams, but I nerd out on this kind of stuff, so I thought it was kind of cool. So phase one, if we talk about like what are we trying to achieve here, so there's a target, right? So target could be Tesla, it could be some AI chip manufacturing company, something of that nature. And the way that we've kind of divided this in our heads and in code is we take a domain and then we say, okay, what's the corporate stuff? And then what's the people stuff? And once we like take those two little components, there's all sorts of sub little modules that fire off. So one example would be, what's the tech stack look like? Are there any business or organizational related acquisitions that we should be aware of? And obviously all of this stuff can be found very easily. In addition, like what are they looking for hiring? Are there any new news articles of things that are kind of going on in the news? And then confidential records, if you'd be interested in that, Dani has a DEF CON or a BlackHat talk from that a couple of years ago. So data sources like that are very, very interesting of like comms between sensitive people of sorts, right? On the people side, we have social media and then we have data breaches. Some of them are public, some of them are more private until they get leaked and then they become public. But friends and relationships, right? So it's nothing really new, but it's also really, really valuable to understand who knows each other, who's friends with one another, where did they come from, how did they get to where they are, what's their current role at their organization, and how can we begin to build those bridges between them, which includes jumping data sources, right? So things like certifications, interviews, which would be very, very helpful for something like using 11 Labs and cloning your voice. That becomes a whole other module on the side. So that's the first phase.
Yeah, so we're also looking at it from different type of like who's attacking, right? It could be cybercrime attacking corporations, but we also looked at it as a state-sponsored actor attacking government agencies. Given this is a 30-minute talk, we focused on corporate, but this works on government agencies too. We ran the tool, and this is some pretty scary stuff from different countries. We ran it, so this data is going to be redacted. We're not going to say which company. It is an AI chip manufacturer company. Given the recent ban from that the US has on exporting AI chips to China, that could be very, very interesting for a state actor to get proprietary data on how to build AI chips. So that was our target. We're not going to say which company because we don't want to dox anyone, but that the data you'll see is actual data from the employees from the company.
Yeah. So more charts, right? So the technical flow of kind of how this stuff really works under the hood is we take all the first set of information and then we go through essentially a data enrichment process. So now that we know where you work, we know, well, actually we haven't even gotten there. So this is kind of the where you work, et cetera. So once we have, the goal here is like to identify emails and things of that nature. And email is a great way of being able to jump bridges. And so using something like Hunter is really, really powerful. One, it identifies like, is this a valid email address? What's their current working title? What's their phone information, et cetera? And then also email format. That way, if we can't get anything out of Hunter, we now at least know, oh, it's the first letter of the first name and then the last name at the domain, right? And that becomes helpful because it fuels the next flow. So things like SERPer, which enabled Google searching to identify public LinkedIn data without logging in and getting blacklisted from LinkedIn, which does happen, may I add. And then using something like Bright Data, which allows you to essentially return back the HTML, the raw responses of those pages. And you'll notice kind of towards the bottom of, we're kind of doing some little gymnastics. It actually gets way more complicated than this, I promise. But once we have LinkedIn data, then we try to pull that back in and verify that like, hey, is this data actually real, right? So there's like a nurturing and massaging process. Throw that data into Dhashed, which is essentially a large data breach sort of service that you can pull clear text creds, hashed credentials, raw phone numbers, et cetera, which would be very helpful for something like what we're building.
Also, which forums you're in,
Right.
which websites you're in, if you're in the bodybuilding or any other thing, it'll return to you. Just one note on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, as everyone knows, they have a great team. of anti-bot with CAPTCHAs. So you can bypass it. We're not gonna. That part is kind of like, we're not. We'll share it at some point, but then it'll get blocked. But we use Bright Data, which has about a 30% success rate of giving you back the full HTML of a profile. That was enough for us, and especially with Serper, you can do like a Google query on LinkedIn and then company name. So we get a bunch of names, and then since Hunter gave us the email format, we started just generating all the corporate emails based on first name, last name, and the format, and we use the email verifier to see if it's a legit email. So a little bit about the tools that we used. So we used LangChain to orchestrate some of this process. OpenAI, we used GPT-4, and we used the embeddings. We used Milvus, and I think their managed service is called Zillisk. So it's a vector store. We also incorporated Neo4j. We could not, it was too much to put in one presentation, but LangChain does have this module that will actually have GPT write a query for Neo4j, which is a graph database based on your prompt. So you can get like links between people, universities they went to together, right? So then we get this like Alumni thing. It's like, oh, we have like an Alumni meeting. So that's like very, very powerful when you put everything in a graph and you see connections between people. We got, data leaks. We use Blip, which is great for image captioning. So, if you scrape Twitter, Instagram of a person, and it'll give you a text of what the image is. So one of our examples will be bodybuilding. So if you're into bodybuilding and your whole Instagram is like my transformation in bodybuilding, we're like, okay, you're into bodybuilding. That's a great way to fish you. And then, social media reconnaissance. For data stores, like I said, we use Milvus for VectorDB. We use Elasticsearch for a lot of like text similarity search because there's a lot of common names and stuff like that. And then Neo4j was the graph database, and like I said before, LLMs. So you can use your own hosted ones. We just use GPT-4 and OpenAI embeddings. Other than that, we use like Preston said, we use Serper, which is like a Google search API. Hunter, Dehashed, Spiderfoot is great. You give it a domain, it will give you a lot of data. It needs a lot of cleaning, but it's great. And then all the social media networks that, we were able to scrape posts, tweets, images. So one of the leaks actually is pretty recent by Biden Cash. It's 2 million credit card numbers. It was in the clear web for everyone to download. And the thing about it, so I was getting those Wells Fargo emails, even though I don't have a Wells Fargo account. But now, when you look at a person's name, it will tell you which bank they use and which credit card provider they use. So then becomes from phishing, it becomes spear phishing because we actually know your last 4 digits of your credit card number, right? It's a lot more legit. The Twitter leak, 2 million users, you put a name, you get an email address, you get his Twitter account. Facebook data leak, 553 million users. You get phone numbers, email addresses, if they're single, location, and this is all publicly available. Like this is not anything we needed to buy. So it's all out there. And this is just like a little bit, we have about 4 terabytes of leaks from different sources that, we can utilize. but it's just too much for us to talk. And you can see the Biden Cash picture and from some news articles about the Twitter leak and the Facebook dump. So first thing we tried to do is, okay, we got your LinkedIn profile. We know where you went to college. So how about we try to do a prompt to do like an Alumni network invitation? So as you can see, this is the email that GPT-4 with all our contacts generated. And I don't know, to me it looks like a pretty legit email, a lot better than other phishing emails, unless someone is doing a campaign against you. And just to, like, if you want to fish me, right, this is my LinkedIn profile. I was in capital investments at Berkeley while I was in school. And looking my name on Google, I saw that they have the website and there's like an alumni network. So if you look at the bottom where it's like orange, that's my name, the company I work at, my location, what do I do? So if I get an email from CAB that they're doing like a meetup, hey, come sign in, or new portal, I'll be like, well, yeah, I was at CAB. Or someone else will be like, hey, I saw that you're also alumni for CAB. I'm looking for a job. This is my resume, right? PDF file. Easy. So second thing we did, which is also based on LinkedIn data, what was your role? Are you like a machine learning researcher doing like embedded systems? Well, we're doing a conference in San Francisco. That's where you live. Come to the conference, we'll reserve a spot. We're giving you a 20% discount. I mean, raise your hand if this looks like a legit email. Nah, I thought more people would raise their hands, but okay.
Yeah, so one of the ones that was most interesting to me was the game of acquisitions, right? So if we take just the context of a company and throughout their life cycle, if they're going out and buying other companies. And so the abuse of trust between those organizations, kind of very similar to just AD trust in general, right? So let's say that company A bought company B, and you identify that via looking, just scraping the web. And you're like, oh, okay, so company B has particular employees that work there. What if we picked up a similar domain, flip the L's and the I's, simulate their exact email address, and then send on behalf of our corporate B email to a user of company A, and saying, hey, just so you know, like this is from, for example, a vice president. Just so you know, like we are looking to onboard the rest of our team. And we've noticed that some of our team members aren't actually in the system. Would you mind go ahead and fixing this real quick? And obviously, as of a payload, one example would be a backdoor Excel document or something like this. Of course, Microsoft has changed a lot of default policies, but that's one example.
Does this look legit? Okay.
And so I really thought the reasoning, and again, the reasoning and the prompts and all these things, like this isn't human written. These are all generated just straight out of GPT-4, right? So giving an example of like, why did you pick this response is very, very interesting. And obviously this is almost just like I'd call it like an alpha. If we were talking about like a production ready product or something of that nature, being able to use mathematics and quantitative measurements to actually identify percent probability. Like you can kind of get into like some pretty crazy stuff, right? Which is pretty cool. Another one that's kind of interesting, right? So like, let's say theoretically that there was some hotshot executive who lived in Cleveland and he also is into bodybuilding, right? And let's say theoretically that he was involved in a data breach from bodybuilding.com or something like that. Well, what's cool is if you take context of, if you're a CEO, what is your background and what are you good at and how do you think, right? You're a leader, right? You're a natural born leader. And if we take that and we begin combining it with the fact that, okay, well, we know that you are also a trusted member of bodybuilding.com, And we know that you are obviously a very active user. So what if bodybuilding.com began spinning up local chapters in the Cleveland area? And what if we wanted them to become a leader of that chapter? So you're really getting into, you're pulling data sources from multiple components and you're pulling it together in a very personalized sort of fish. Something like this, not necessarily against this particular fictitious example person, but I could see something like this being very effective in the real world.
And this is also where models like Clip or Blip come in, where you look at Instagram or Twitter and you look at pictures and they give you the caption of the picture, so you can see how active this person in bodybuilding, right? Because it will tell you, oh, a person's showing off like his muscles, right? So you know like how recent and how active he is right now, and that's how you get the ranking of like this. If he's posting this like in the past weeks, this is a great way to fish him.
Yeah, I think we can skip this slide. Same.
Yeah, so credit card. So I showed you that Biden Cash leak. So they had a 1-year anniversary of doing credit card leaks. So they gave it out for free. You have like 20 million credit card numbers of Americans with their banks. So, you know, this is where it comes that Wells Fargo, it's like, not Wells Fargo, I know which bank you are. And you can see the email that was actually generated with your card ending with that number. And there was suspicious activity in San Francisco because we know where you live. We scraped everything about you. So please verify or decline this transaction. Fake link to a very good, to basically your bank website, and we grab your creds. So I don't know. Does this look good? Awesome. So this is basically it. We wanted to thank a lot of people that supported us. We will open source Nemo and GitHub. So in upcoming weeks, you can follow us on Twitter. We'll send out updates on when the repo will be ready, because right now it's a little bit of a mess. Wanted to give credits to my friend Tom Malka, who's like an awesome god who helped me get a map of all of the sources I can use for Ascent. And then our mentors and our brothers, which you can see in this picture, Jason Haddix and Daniel Miesler, are right there and right here.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Yeah.
I love you guys. Yeah, any questions?
Yeah. No, there's like tons of ways to bypass that. I actually had a bunch of prompt slides, but we had like 20 minutes, and so, yeah.
Let's do a selfie with the crowd.